Hey, I want to share a whole new group of friends I have made in this small town in Georgia. And I have their creator here with me today on Weezy. So today I just cannot tell you how excited I am to have my guest today, Kay Dew Shostak, with me here on Weezy. I cannot tell you. I went to Georgia during the pandemic and I met this whole new group of friends. And Kay was the person who introduced them to me through her words in the wonderful called the Chancey Series. Hey Kay, how are you today? So glad to
I'm
have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. I'm doing great.
Great. And you reside in the great state of Florida?
Yes, I do. North Florida up. We're the first exit out of Georgia on 95. So
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, familiar with going down I-95
there you go.
to get there. So, well, like I said, I am just so excited to have you here. You and your cast of characters in all of your book series were great company in the pandemic. So,
Oh, nice.
have really enjoyed them. So, we are here today because um, we have a new release in
Yes,
Chance. We have a new release in Chancey. And
I
what is
actually
the name of
have
that?
the first book here, the first one off the press. So hope,
Ooh,
hope is Chancey. So
Hope is Chancey. Well,
yeah,
hey, look, I
not
got Hope
pretty.
behind me too.
Yes, I noticed that.
So Hope is one of my favorite words that I love to use. And
Well, it's a good one for this time period too. When I came up with the name, it was like, oh, that's the name. That's it. That's perfect. And so,
so it didn't have to do with the baby in the eighth book.
it does have, there's that hope, but there's also that there's just lots of hoping going on, but still, and that's when I'm coming up with the name, I jot down a lot of ideas and just kind of keep feeling it out and going through it. And some of them I'll type out on the manuscript to kind of get a feel for. And this way, and then when I hit on hope, it was perfect. Not just about the character, it's not just the whole pandemic and coming out of that, but the characters, and but it was just fit. It was just that's it. And then the time of year, on the cover, I've got camellias blooming, and
Mm-hmm.
that gets being in
Beautiful.
Georgia, and then I've got it's a snowfall, a late snowfall. So again, that whole I've always loved that idea of when the snow falls on the flowers, in the
Mm-hmm.
spring, because it's you got the spring and snow's trying one last time. So,
One last time.
but there's hope. There's hope.
Yes. So, okay. I'm going to go and start asking you some of those personal questions before we get into more of the books.
Okay.
So, so you live in Florida,
Yep.
and you you're married and have a husband and three kids.
Yes. Yep. And they live. We moved around the country with my husband's job. Yes. And even though we're not in the books, that he does. He's a railroad consultant, not railroad. He's an engineer that works with railroads. But when you say a railroad engineer, everyone thinks he drives trains. So in the Chancey books, you know why that. I need to know about that once you read those books.
That was one of my questions. If he was really a railroad enthusiast.
Yes, he is. All of the things they do in the books, we have done as a family. Yes, and that's. I mean, he's gotten to work his whole career with railroads and laying rail tracks. Drawing out the plans and everything. But and so we moved around the country. And so our kids now, one lives. Our daughter Lizzie lives in Denver. Our middle son, Ryan, she's the youngest. Our middle son, Ryan, lives in outside Atlanta, Georgia. And our oldest son, Robert, lives in Montgomery, Alabama. And
Okay.
so spread out a little bit.
A little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit. Very cool. Um, so now that we have that part away, I'm just always intrigued because I just find a person who can create the scene and just have enough words and mind power to be able to put down 250 plus is about the average of your books, correct? 250 pages
Yeah,
on average. How
yeah.
can you come up with all of that information? And have you always wanted to be that? I've always been in awe of that, but have you always wanted to be a writer?
Yes, I have. I thought everybody that liked to read wanted to be a writer. I did not realize it was a different thing. I loved reading and loved books and loved stories, and I love stories about authors. So I know exactly what you're talking about, being, kind of in awe. Louise May Alcott was my favorite. I read all the books about
Mhm.
her child, the biographies as a kid. I just couldn't imagine getting to do that. And I was in my 30s and I was in a book club. Of course, I loved reading, and we just read this really cool book set in the South. We lived outside Chicago, and I said to the ladies in the book group, said, "Oh, don't you wish you had written this book?" And to a person, they said, "Written? No, never thought about it." And and one of them, like the couple were librarians, one was a college professor. They were all, and one said, "Well, I've written some papers and I've written some articles." And I said, "No, like a novel." And "You mean like make it all up, like fiction?" That was my first inkling that maybe this was something different. And so I went home and asked my husband. I said, "Have you ever thought about writing a novel?" And he's just, "No, it's never even crossed my mind." And seriously, the next day I started writing because I thought, "Oh, well, maybe this is something God wants me to do." I just thought if you like reading, you must want to write. And I started writing that next day. I ended up working for a little newspaper in town. So I got to write that way. We moved to the Atlanta area and I joined a writer's critique group. And I started writing the day after I found out everybody didn't want to do this. So.
Well, you're great because you're answering all my questions.
Oh, you know what? Like I said, I work for a newspaper. I've done a lot of my interviews on the other side of it. So, you know,
Ah, um, so you wrote in your mid 30s, but did you start publishing them or did books come a little bit later?
no, I was writing books and those books will probably never see the light of day. I mean, I guess I went to some conferences. You go, try and find an agent. This was back in the 90s. And so you couldn't, you couldn't publish unless you got picked up by a publishing house. And because even if you self-publish, like some speakers, pastors especially, would self-publish a book, what we called self-publishing back then. You paid someone to publish the book, but then you had to sell it. You bought 1,000 copies, put them in your garage, and then you sold them at your speaking events. We've all probably bought books that way.
Mhm,
So, at the
mhm.
back of the sanctuary, the back of the conference hall, and but that was it. You had those 1,000 books, and you were done with it. That was the only way you could be published, unless you got an agent and went through the whole sending inquiries. So I did that for a long time. Went to conferences, did get an agent. This was in the early 2000s. Got an agent. We were doing, submitting books. The Chancey book, I was in a critique group with a gentleman. Cease Murphy is one of my mentors. He wrote Gifted Hands by Ben Carson. He wrote it 90 minutes, rewrote 90 Minutes in Heaven. It's very well known, teaches around the world. And I had been in his critique group in Atlanta for several years. And when he read the first pages of Chancey, he came out, he says, "This is your book. This is you. This is you on the page." And so that was probably the fifth book I had written. And he had read a lot of my stuff, but he was like, "This is your voice. This is who you are." And the Southern fiction idea. And so, like I said, then with the Chancey books, got an agent, was going through all of that. And then the economy fell apart.
Oh,
And
you have a 2007 story.
Oh, yes. That's, it just, well, and it was even, it was the economy. And then also ebooks came along and the publishing houses were petrified. What is this going to do to our businesses? The publishing industry just was going crazy. And the idea of a new author, untested, was getting amazing rejection letters. I have some on my bulletin board here. Kay's great. This book is page turner, but we don't need another Southern author right now. But we're not signing any new authors. And in 2015, sorry, just keep going on, but it's
no.
But in 2015, I went to my agent and we talked, and I said, I think I want to try this, the indie publishing. And I thought, I'm going to try it. And I went to a conference and just got great feedback from traditional publishing houses again. But I thought, I think I want to try this. And he said to me, he goes, if there's anybody that can make this work, you can do it. My degree's in business. I love business. I love selling. I love marketing. That helps tremendously when you are your own marketer. And, so and then I looked at some small publishing houses, but then they got to pick your cover. And I was afraid, Chancey has a lot of humor in it. And I was afraid they would stick a cartoon cover on it. And I thought, no, I don't want the chick lit, even though it falls on, I don't want that genre. I don't want that to look at it to be what it is. And then I found a fantastic cover artist who, like you and I had talked earlier, or we've, mentioned the idea that you used to not, my cover artist, she's a writer in herself, Rosanna White, but she also does cover design and formatting in Virginia. We've never met, we just are able to go back and forth, and it's amazing what you can do now that 15, 20 years ago was not even possible. So,
no, it's much easier if you want to carve a niche, all you have to do is show up.
Yes. And work hard. Yeah. Oh, well,
yeah. I love those commercials, or the people who are trying to say, just start this and start your little stream out there, and you too will make $1 million.
Yeah.
And about maybe, depends on how hard you want to work, or if you want to be honest about it or not. But
this is true.
I've been doing this for 10 years now. So,
yeah,
I'm still trying to make it.
Me too. And that you just keep doing it. So.
Yeah. Well, you were saying that you kind of started in the 1990s, and then you went through all of that, and then you started the self-publishing in 2015. So you're definitely not one of, you have the typical, not that you're typical, but everybody goes, they just came out of nowhere. You have your suddenly story.
Yes. Well, and I kept writing the Chancey books once I realized that was my voice. So by the time I indie published the first Chancey book, I had a couple more. So they were able to go ahead and come out. I was pretty confident to go ahead and put those out. They were already done. I had it was the third book. I found the editor I use now, and she actually went back and re-edited the first two books for me. But it just getting it all the pieces to come together. But I had confidence because I had been doing this for a while, and had the good reactions. Just didn't have the getting over the getting published. So
getting the publishing.
Yes.
So the Chancey book, that was your first published book?
Yes. Okay. Next Stop Chancey.
Very good. Now, is there truly a town in Georgia? Why Georgia, and what is there truly a Chancey, Georgia?
No. Now, there is actually a Chancey, Georgia in South Georgia. I did not know that until after, because I just Googled Chancey, Georgia. Chancey is actually my mother's maiden name. And my mom was one of 14 kids raised in
Mm,
North Georgia. They were raised right on the Georgia-Tennessee line,
okay.
Kaysville and Copper Hill. And they, her, and so Chancey just, it's so funny because my family, when they, first heard of the Chancey books, they're all thrilled and think they're in them. My husband's family is the opposite. They're all like, we're not in that, are we? We're not in that.
Please don't include
But, there's always people that, but the Chanceys, oh, they love the center stage. So I knew that was not a problem. And it just was a neat name. Our first dog was named Chancey because I didn't think I could talk my husband into naming a kid Chancey. So, all right. So but that area, Blue Ridge, we lived at the time I started writing the Chancey books. We did live outside Atlanta. We lived in Marietta, the northwest suburbs of Atlanta. That my husband worked in Atlanta, so we were definitely the suburbs.
Okay.
And I did love it, like Carolina in the books, because we had lived out in a little farming community outside Chicago on a dirt road in an old farmhouse that I loved that. But when we moved to the suburbs and our kids, the ages they were, oh, I
was
loved
perfect.
the suburbs. Yes. I also loved in our little township in Illinois, we lived across the street from the elementary school and the church. So everybody knew everything we did. I loved having that deck on the back of the house where nobody knew what you did or if you were home. So I really associated with Carolina. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee. So when she talks about not everyone moved back to a small town, I'd been there, done that. And so much of my story that in the Chancey books, in the mysteries, is the juxtaposition of life. I mean, I just find that small town versus big town, suburban versus rural, north, south, it's just all those things I just I find so interesting. And I've been blessed to get to experience a lot of those differences.
So let's introduce some of the people we'll meet in Chancey. So your main character is Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's married to Jackson. And they have 3 children, Luke, Savannah, and Brian, and that is their birth orders. And then you start sprinkling it with your colorful characters of Mrs. and FM and Lainey and Susan. And they're primarily the main characters you see in every story.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah, you get Susan and Lainey's families are usually in every story just because they're talking about them or they're doing stuff. But yes, those are the main characters that are involved. So.
Yes, and then Mrs. So did you?
No.
Did you have a Mrs. in your life?
No, not really. Well, don't we all? But no, I mean, not really. I just thought, and I don't know. She just reminds me of so many, especially older women in small towns that are in charge, and not even small towns, churches. Oh, mostly, if you've been in church very long, you know who's running things. And it's not usually the administrative council or even the pastor. It's a group of women that know where everything is in the kitchen and how things are going to be done. You can vote till you're blue in the face, but we're going to tell you how it is going to be done. And there's usually 1 or 2 women that everybody knows. You're just not going to go against what they say because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And they like running things, and they do.
There's a tradition.
Yep.
And we take, now, if you're in the South, there's a tradition. I lived in Richmond for quite a while, so there was a very dignified dialect. Now I live in Charlotte, outside of Charlotte in South Carolina, and it's like, we have traditions and we're going
Yes.
to follow them.
That is, it is so, yes, the accents around the South, and people think, oh, I love my favorite. Now, I love North Carolina accent. My dad's from the coast of North Carolina down Whiteville. And I see we've got company. And
Yes. She would be my missus. She's my Southern Belle Diva dog.
She runs it all. Somebody's got to be the boss. So
she's giving her that's Izzy. She's giving her 2 cents.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad she could join us. But it's yes, but the different accents and just every small town, every church, every organization, they didn't have to be a church, a women's group. We all know the person that's in charge. And seems to me it always tends to be an elderly woman, not elderly, but an older woman.
Older woman. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
I didn't like my name for so long because that was a name with one of those types of women.
Yes. Yeah.
So Louise, I'm like going, oh, but it was my grandma's name.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice.
Now it doesn't bother me so much, but younger. But anyway, but yes, there is one of those personalities in every group.
Well, you also need them in a novel. You need the instigator. If you don't have somebody causing trouble, instigating things, it's not going to work. So
Caroline and Jackson, not to give anything away from the books, but the series starts out, we are going to get to the one that's going to release, but to set up, if you are not familiar with the stories,
yes,
it starts out that Carolina and Jackson move from the suburbs of Atlanta, Marietta, to this small town of Chancey. And Jackson is a railroad enthusiast, and they have bought a house that is next to the railroad tracks. And the town automatically clings to them to open a bed and breakfast. Did you do that?
No. But there is in now I'm going to go blank on the town. There is a town in Alabama that has the walking bridge. That's the old railroad bridge. And oh my goodness, my husband's not going to believe I can't remember the name of this town. And we visited that, and there is a house that sits there, not as nice as our house. There's a house that sits there by it. When I say our house, I mean the house in Chancey.
Yeah.
But I thought
it's a made-up house. You can make that house anything you want.
Exactly. That's why I write. That's why I write. We need a business. I just make one. But I thought that was the neatest idea, because I did know that, because we have stayed at Railroad Bed and Breakfast, where everything runs on when Amtrak's going to go by and everybody goes on the porch and waves at them and everything. So we have done that. But no, I don't think I would like to run a bed and breakfast. I know I wouldn't like to run a bed and breakfast. So I liked staying in them, but not to run one. So no.
Too much work.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The older I get, the more ease I want.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have friends that are retiring to open up bed and breakfast, and it's like, okay, good for you. That's not on my, no.
No, I want to be, I want to be able to pick up and go when I want to go.
There you go.
Not be tied down.
Yes.
So that's a setup of the books. And today we are talking about book number 9. So yes. I guess you've had just a little success with this series.
So far.
So tell us, to the people who haven't read them, give them a teaser of why they want to read this series and get up to book number 9 really fast.
Well, it is like getting to see inside what's going on in your friends' houses and what's going on with their marriages and their families, because these are just normal people. And the women in Chancey, the main characters, the women, are in their 40s, but they really, I know that a lot of women of all ages identify with them. And it's just interesting getting to know what they're doing. I mean, I'm nosy, but I'm not the only one. So I just getting to know. It reminds me a lot of the idea of just of the old soap operas. Not as much drama because these are just normal people. Although my mom used to say, if you think soap operas are too dramatic, you just haven't lived a lot. So because of course, she's one of 14 kids, so she knew a lot of drama. But the idea of just being in this small town and being put somewhere where you're not, first of all, you don't want to be, I think is something we all can identify with. And maybe that's why you enjoyed these books during the pandemic so much. Carolina doesn't want to be here.
They saved my life during the pandemic.
Yeah, Carolina doesn't want to be there. But her husband does, and she kind of wants to be with him. So
she kind of likes it.
Done that. Yeah, she's kind
of. We've been there where we gotten discouraged with our relationships, and then you look at them another day and you go, no, I still kind of like you. I guess I'll stick it out, and I like you.
Yeah, and
I still like you.
And you look at other people's relationships, and you think, well, wait a minute, I've got it better than them, or maybe I can learn from these other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea of the children. I have, what is so funny is each of the books, because Savannah is, when the book opens, his 16-year-old daughter, well, she's 15, she turned 16 during the books. But I have a daughter, and anybody that's had a daughter, here's a statistic that you may not know. 98% of people shopping in liquor stores have teenage daughters.
Well,
it might not be true, but no, it just, but teenage daughters will drive you to drink. I mean, they are work, but the relationship between a teenage daughter and a mom, at the time I was running this, I had a teenage daughter, and I had been a teenage daughter. So that was making me look again at some of the things my mom had said to me or about me. And I just started writing these characters, and they just came to life. I really liked them. I liked what they were doing and trying to figure out what they were doing. And even even the people that you don't like, I really enjoyed her. And then, like I said, we've all known somebody like Mrs. We've all known the control freak, older lady whose word is what's going to happen. And how did she get this way? Was she always this way? And so I've really enjoyed getting to show the readers, find out myself, and then show the readers how Mrs. got to this place and what made her what she is and why she has good people that love her. Because don't you always wonder about that?
It's like, why does everybody put up with this stuff?
Yes.
But then.
Or they have a really awesome husband, and you think, really? Or a really grouchy guy, and you think, well, his wife is so sweet. And then as you get to know the person, you understand more about why that person does love them. So but just getting to know what's going on in this small town has just been, I just enjoy it tremendously. And that's one reason this series is able to continue, is it's about the town. It's not that the town is really the main character, even though everything is said through Carolina's, it's, eyes, it really is about the town and her growth and the town's growth. And if you've lived in a small town, especially, you've been through that. And this year, again, with the pandemic, we see towns that are struggling. We see towns that are succeeding. And that makes a huge difference for the people that live there.
Yeah. So I visited with your friends in Chancey, Georgia. But I also visited some of your friends in Florida with two different books series, but the one is still going.
Yes.
And that is what's the book series?
The mystery. That's the Southern Beach Cozy Mystery Series. So they're the ones set on Sophia Island, which is just another name for Amelia Island, which is where I live. So if you've ever been to Amelia Island, then Sophia Island will be very, very familiar. I'm just changing the names. So,
Ooh, to fit to fit the crimes and the actions that go on in town.
no, basically, so I don't, people don't think I really know something that I don't know. That I'm having so much fun changing the names of the restaurants, and people that hear the bookstore in town is just selling these like crazy. And then I'm getting letters from people that have gone home after vacation, and they're, oh my gosh, I need the next book. I bought this, and it's just like being on vacation again when I read this. So I'm
Well,
enjoying that.
I agree with them because it's May, it's pool season. We need, longer hours and there's lots
Yeah,
of reruns or just there's just not a lot to watch on TV, so why not grab a glass of wine, go sit on the deck and enjoy an evening with these new pals.
there you go.
So,
I like it.
so you have 3 books so far
Yes,
in that series. When's the
yes.
4th one coming?
The fourth one is The Shark Did It.
Shark did
The books are they're matter of fact, they're here behind me.
it.
But
Mhm.
the manatee did it, the sea turtle did it, the shrimp did it, and the fourth one is the shark did it. And that should come out later this year. I'm not sure exactly when. I'm working on it, and
Okay.
really enjoying it. But those are
So don't
mysteries.
count on that one for summer reading.
No. But you get all ready for the third. Read these 3, and then you'll be ready for the shark. But and those are cozy mysteries. The Chancey books are not considered, not mysteries. They're just Southern fiction, contemporary Southern fiction, and but these are the cozy mysteries. So they fit in the cozy mystery genre. They're clean. They're fun. There is a murder.
They are fun, and
Yeah, but
I have to
they
say
have been a
you
lot
are
of fun.
very good at your twist.
Oh, well, thank you. I've read, I should be, as many mystery books as I've read, I should be really good at. But
I'm a good
thrilled.
judge of that because I've read a lot of them and I watch a lot of them.
Well, because when you first do the mystery and you're thinking, is this, do they get to the end of it and they're going, well, that didn't make any, because I have read books where you got to the end and went, wait, that didn't make sense. So thank you. I'm glad that they make sense.
They are just wonderful. And Kay, it's just been a pleasure to meet you.
Oh,
Um,
it's so nice.
and I hope you guys, if you haven't started reading these books, because I know I've mentioned them um, throughout time in the last year about reading them and enjoying them. So if you haven't started, Kay, tell us where you can find the books.
All of my books are available on Amazon. You can put in my name, Kay Dew Shostak, on Amazon, and they will come up. The Chancey book series or the Southern Beach Cozies. But if you might also have a website. I don't sell the books to the website because my books are all on Kindle Unlimited also. So if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, all my books are there. The but my website is www, of course, kaydewshostak.com. So,
Okay.
and I love connecting with people on Facebook. So if you're one of Weezy's Facebook friends, look me up. I love connecting with people, and I promise it's always positive, Southern
It
writing
is.
stuff, family. I like being positive. I've tried being sad once and didn't like it. So
Yeah, really. I mean, it's just not worth it.
no.
Yes, because and I can say that her posts are really good. This last week, she near and dear to my heart, she made strawberry freezer jam for her grandkids,
Yes, I did.
and they have a new family nesting in their backyard,
Yes.
and the mom and dad there's some geese, and they had to get the babies off the roof of a what was it?
We don't know how they did it, but they're off and wandering around the backyard now. The day after they were born, the day after they were hatched, they somehow got them off the roof. I don't know. So,
So I do have to ask because geese do have a reputation of being very protective over their young. Are you being chased around your backyard?
no, we have a large backyard, and so there's actually a fence, and there, and then behind the fence is the lake, and it's a chain link fence, so we can watch them, but they can't get up into where we are in the yard.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and this was right on the edge of that yard. And we knew there was a nest because they kept buzzing us. The dad kept buzzing us, and okay, there's a nest. We couldn't find it because it was up on top of the dog shelter. And because we kept looking around and looked in the barn, looked everywhere for it. And then finally we were up near the house, and my husband's like, I think there's a goose sitting up on top of the dog shed. And sure enough, it had built the nest up there on top of that. So